Hello there. This is Cindy at cindybdesigns.com. Thank you for joining me today. We have a project that we're going to be making, and there is a picture of it. And I have a few more coming up, of course, but we are going to be using our mini paper pumpkin boxes and making like a treat box out of it that you can put anything into. And this is relatively easy. It's a little bit time consuming, but you can do it. So I'm using the Fireside Trimmings bundle, and there's a stamp set. There's a die cut for everything in there, and the price point is so incredibly cost effective. And a die will cut out every single image that you saw there. And then we have a lot of the freestanding images that you can cut out that I'm pointing out to with my left thumb. We have frames, we have banners, um, we have that little, I don't know what it's called, that holds your wood in the fireplace, flames, and then garland on top of that. And there's a lot that you can do with this. On my card on Tuesday that had the gold frame in it with that really unique sketch I used, that's the frame. So you're going to want a piece of 12 by 12 DSP that's going to be 5.5 across, like I just showed you, and then like 10 1/4 down. But we'll get to that as we assemble. And there's going to be measurements over on the blog too, and the link is underneath this. You're going to need a piece of cardstock, regular Whisper White. The second one was watercolor paper. Don't forget that. Cajun Craze, what I'm showing you right now, that is Cajun Craze. You want to swap that out to pumpkin pie though, because I did have to make a few alterations while I was doing this, because this is like really my sample and it was a little bit of a struggle. And on that piece of pumpkin pie, and of course I swapped it out later on and took everything off screen, you're going to want to put a strip of our sticky back adhesive on there, and then do your die cuts from that, like our little fireplace banners. And I like to use my bone folder just to get it down all the way really nice. So I'm going to be getting that done for you. And remember, that's pumpkin pie. Then we're going to bring in some smoky slate just for our sentiment, and then basic black for our little bat garland there. You're going to need your basic black Stampin' Right marker. Our ink's going to be Memento Tuxedo Black, Pretty Peacock, and Smoky Slate. You're going to need pumpkin pie as well, so you will definitely want to bring that in. You're going to want to use some clear embossing powder. You need some Versamark, and of course your heat tool. And we are using the new water brushes, and we have some white frost shimmer there. Snail, which I really don't use at all. Playful Pets, the black and white twine, the metallic mesh ribbon that is in the Magic in This Night suite, which is also the DSP that we're using, the Pretty Peacock piece that you saw at the very beginning. Stitch rectangles, you want to use a third die down. And I'm pulling that off right now. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit here. And the first thing we're going to do is really fold up that mini paper pumpkin box. Simplest thing in the world to do. You have to put a little bit of muscle in it because that's very, very thick. These boxes are food safe. You can put cookies in them, fresh baked goods, whatever you want to. I ended up putting Snicker bars in mine because I'm going to give it to my auntie she's addicted to Snickers bars. So I'm getting that burnished down. And like I said, it's the easiest thing to put together in the world. And if you're not quite sure, we have videos on it, or just look at your paper pumpkin box that comes in your subscription every month. So I have everything burnished down. So the first thing you're going to want to do is fold in those tabs there and those tabs there on the lid and then in the very front. And I'm just doing that so because I really need three hands a little bit. And then folding everything over because you want those little tabbies on the flap to stick through the bottom there. And then everything closes on the inside just like that. And that is how simple that is to do. So now I'm bringing in our piece of cardstock, and how I measured that out was you wanted to fit in between those two little teeny tiny tabbies there that you see on the left and on the right. And yeah, my painter's tape fell off and I got tired of messing with it. So I'm just going to hold it with my fingers, make sure it's straight, and I'm not doing any hard creases or folds or anything like that in that piece of DSP. I just want it even so I know where to trim it off and it's not, being overhung too much. And I'm going to mark it real quick with my pencil, take it over to my paper trimmer, and then slice that little bit off there that you see. Because this, we're not going to adhere it to the box because the recipient obviously has to open up the little paper pumpkin box. So that is going to be a slide, and you'll see it work towards the end of the video. So I'm bringing in our brand new big shot here, and I'm really picking up the speed because this is a long video. And I'm putting down our stitch rectangle, and then one of the little banner flag dies. Well, we only have one, but I need to cut it 3 times. And on the back of the basic black cardstock that you see there, you also want to put sticky back adhesive on that. And I'm not sure if I said this earlier because I had to cut out like some time here that I forgot the first time around. But you want to cut our little flag out there 3 times, and I know I did say that. And again, that should be pumpkin pie. So I'm pulling everything out now, and I'm going to end up die cutting, again, that little flag another 2 times. And did I leave this in here? Yeah, I'm just going to zip right through it real quick. And I'm running it back and forth because there is that adhesive sticky back on the back of it, and it's not thick or anything like that, but just kind of to buy, insurance, so to speak. So we are going to take that through again, and then we will be done. So for a quick recap, that should be pumpkin pie rather than Cajun craze that we cut our little banner flags out of and put the adhesive back sticky on that. And then the same with the basic black cardstock. You want the sticky back on that. Now we're bringing in our frost white shimmer. And I have one of our new water brushes, and I'm taking a larger tip. I put it in some water that is wet. You want to have like a paper towel next to you, and you want to shake that little container up because there is a ball in that. And then I am going to flick on there, and I put a healthy amount on the end of that tip there, and I'm taking my black Stampin' Right marker and just tapping it and moving it around and then splattering that down and getting everything cleaned up. Now I am going to be using our basic black marker, and I'm going to be doing the same thing. Now look how I hold my cap there in my left hand and what I did with the tip of it there. That will not trash your tip or anything like that, and you have a little bit more control over it, and you get some fantastic splatters that way. And it's just a great hack and the easiest thing in the world to do. So now I'm going to stamp my sentiment onto smoky slate cardstock, and I struggle with this stamp because it is tiny. I mean, it's little, and you're going to see me struggle with it because I've never used a stamp set before. So the images, they're sticky, so I'm trying to, get my oil on it from my fingers, and it's just one of those cheats that you do. And I'm straightening it out on the lid of my Stamparatus, hoping everything's straight, looking at it. No, it's not. I'm laying it down again, and yeah, you can see that struggle. One thing I forgot to do, honestly, is to get that really straight, just kind of drop it on your Stamparatus and then use your pokey tool. Not like I am, because that's almost like surgery. But use your pokey tool to move it up without, I'm trying to think of articulate this here, without bending the stamp or anything like that. If you were to make this project, or if you use like little sentiment stamps like that, you'll know exactly what I mean. So yeah, it was a struggle. So I'm going to ink that up with Pretty Peacock, get the excess off my lid, lay that down, and then I'm done. I'm glad that's over with. That is our water paper cardstock, and as you can tell, that is measuring about 2¼ by, oh, it doesn't really matter. You just need something long enough to get 5 images on there. And I did blow it kind of in the middle a little bit because I forgot to put a vase on, which I go across later on in the video. And these are very small images, so I'm trying to get them on there to where I can die cut out more than one at one time. And then you'll see me turn the cardstock around later to get the images on the other side as well. So I used our embossing buddy. I have no idea why that retired, but I still use it because I don't want to mess with it. I ink that up with smoky slate ink because I need that color. Then I'm grabbing the Versamark and I'm stamping on top of that to lay down the Versamark. Since we changed our ink formula, embossing powder won't stick to our regular ink anymore, because I did try that twice before this and it did not work out at all. And to keep the color, I laid Versamark on top of it. So heat setting 2 to dry embossing, to dry ink, that's heat setting 1. And I'm just going to apply the heat tool to it. I keep that tool moving around and I'm kind of angling it towards the, well, I was going to say sun, but I haven't seen it for a few days. And that is what we are looking like. And I do believe, do I go back in? Yeah, I do show you how I just like flip the cardstock around and then go ahead and do the exact same thing to those other images, because just in case I mess up, which we all know is, entirely possible, and it happens a lot, that way I don't have to like dig everything back out and re-stamp it. So regular Whisper White cardstock with smoky slate ink and that large fireplace. And I'm going to lay that down twice and didn't mess up there. When you see ink on your clear stamps and they're open line art like that, like where you see on the left-hand side where it's open and there's ink, be real careful where you press that down. 9 times out of 10, I take it out. But that's how we're looking with the fireplace. So now I am bringing in our new water brushes, and they are very cool too. We have the teeny tip on the left, a longer one on the middle, and then this giant brush tip on the far right there that you saw that you could just do huge lines with on your cardstock. So I pulled out my cubes for my paper pumpkin kits, and I laid down pumpkin pie on a craft mat, and I have water in my water brush there, and I'm picking up the pumpkin pie ink right from the craft mat. The reason why I embossed this here was because I knew I was going to watercolor, and I need that ink to stay in the lines. And when the water pulls up, it works out. It keeps everything within the lines. And that's just how I do that. And it works out really, really well. And you can tilt the paper a little bit to kind of manipulate where the color is going to go, which you should see me do, especially with the pretty peacock faces I have there. And then since the water is pooling, I can just take little teeny tiny dabs of the ink itself and drop it in at the very bottom. My water brush never touches the cardstock. That is how you get blotches. And so I squeeze a little bit out onto the pretty peacock there to, get that up a little bit. And then I'm just lightly dropping it in. If you get too much like that, have a paper towel handy to immediately pick it up. And it does work out. When you have that much water, which isn't water overkill, in your images, it's really easy just to pick up the ink and go ahead and drop it in. So I'm going to color 2 of everything, but do I show you? I guess so. The tips of the candle, they're also done in pumpkin pie, and the wax coming over from the flame in the candle, I do end up really diluting down some of that basic black that you saw there, and I'm using that as my gray, and I'll be dropping that in there too. And I wasn't sure if I showed you if I did that or not. Anything on the sprigs on the top left that you see right now, I do nothing with that. I just go ahead and die cut it out. So you want to set that aside to definitely let it dry out. That's the image I forgot, which I could have put right where I pointed out, but I didn't because it was still drying. So I just grabbed another piece of watercolor cardstock, inked it up the exact same way that you saw me do the other images. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill that out. I did not watercolor or do anything special with the fireplace that you saw. That was just straight stamping, because it really wouldn't make a difference anyway if I had heat embossed it. You can't tell the difference in the finished project, so yeah, we're good. And I'm just getting in the last of that basic black color there on our vases. So we're going to move on now. I did not go through die cutting all of that out, or I did the flags, but not the images because that took a while. So I put the Snicker bars in my box. It fits 6 mini ones perfectly. So now I'm going to kind of like line everything up there a little bit, and I'm grabbing our tear and tape, because again, you do not want to adhere this, skip intro. You do not want to adhere this to your box at all. And the rest is like pretty much explanatory, but in the meantime, yeah, that was like 10 1/4. But don't worry about the measurements. I will have them for you. So in the meantime, if anybody has like a very good, happy Netflix show I can watch that has like, 7 or 8 seasons, that's like very happy, I'm taking recommendations because I've been doing Charm lately, believe it or not, and it's not going to be on Netflix after October 1st, and I'm pretty bummed, to tell you the truth, because there's always a happy ending, so I'm all about that. That's how you want to fold it over, and that is how that sleeve slips off. So moving on now, everything is dry. I'm going to be pulling everything in and getting it assembled for you. On this part here, I'm really going to super speed up. And now we are going to pull off the backing of our adhesive, and you can see how little those pieces are, but they can be like really easily manipulated. And I love these dies because the banners that we have there, we can use them on everything. So I'm laying down the fireplace, and I end up centering it a little bit more, but the fireplace is not adhered to our tag there. I just want to get like our little bats down across the front there, and that bat in the middle that you see, because there's 5 on the garland. So the bat in the middle, where my middle finger is pretty much, yeah. You want to hold that down the middle and then go ahead and get the rest secured down. So now I'm going to lay down our other 2 little flag banners, and I want to get that one down at the bottom there and then head towards the middle with our last one there. And wait until you see when I have to do the vases over on the left hand side. That is not going to be fun. And that is where, if I didn't edit this video the right way, I'm going to turn on some music and quit talking, because there's still like, another 9 minutes to talk. So you see me drag my pokey tool down the dimensionals that way, and I've said this a lot before. It makes the release paper on the back of the dimensionals come off really easy. So that is going to go again, right in the middle and right above the stitch line from the stitch rectangles. And I put the pumpkins on there, just kind of line it up because pumpkin on the far right, I need to put a mini Stampin' Dimensional on that since the fireplace is on dimensionals, and then liquid adhesive over on the middle and the left pumpkin so everything lays flat. And there we are, and that's what we're looking like. I mean, it's really that simple. There's just, I want to say, tedious work to it. So sentiment time. I just laid down the liquid adhesive right in the middle because that is going to go on top. Could you put mini Stampin' Dimensionals on the end of the sentiment? Yes, you could, but you know what? You don't need to at all. So this is the real fun part, and I did not enjoy this at all. So I tried to put a Stampin' Dimensional where I'm lining up that little sprig and the vase there like you see, and it ends up all floppy and didn't work out, so I pulled it off, laid some tape down, try it again. Didn't like the way that was working either because, like I said, these are very, very small images. And you can tell just by, I mean, like looking at my nails. So I wasn't digging on any of that, set it aside because I was frustrated because I'm doing this voiceover a couple hours after I finished this. So so I definitely remember being frustrated like that. So taking it all apart now, and then I decided to pull in some glue dots because I'm kind of done with that mess a little bit. And that is how I am going to get our little sprig there to stay down. And those glue dots, they are strong. I don't have to worry about anything after that. And then I'm going to cut a mini Stampin' Dimensional in half, putting it like over where it all meets up. And you can see what I did there at the top. And then, yeah, I felt like I was doing surgery a little bit because my fingers kept sticking to everything. And I'm going to set my bases on, that dimension thing, right on that very top line of the fireplace of the line art, not the white space, the smoky slate line of the fireplace. So I'm doing the exact same thing, and I use the end of my pokey tool just to kind of rub that in a little bit because now I have to line up those little itsy bitsy candles there on top. And so on the taller vase, you want to put the taller candle, and on the smaller vase, you want to put this smaller candle. So we're going to have the small vase and the small candle go over to the left of the fireplace, and then the larger vase and the large candle going over to the right. Not on the right, but to the right of the small vase. So I have two mini Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of that, and Jezebel's like jumping on me for some reason. What do you want? And that is how I did that. And it ends up working out, and everything's just going to stick now. What do you want? Okay, I got to turn this off because she probably wants out. And yeah, puppy wanted out. So got that lined up there, and I want to pull that candle up just a little teeny tiny bit because you kind of want the smoky slate line of the candle to line up with the smoky slate line on top of our vases there. And that is our tag. It's die cutting and assembling, but it's really, really easy to do. And anybody of any skill level can do this. So I'm bringing our box back in, and I'm getting our mesh. Is it metallic mesh? Yeah, metallic mesh ribbon. And that is like silver in color. And I want my bow to go over towards the left-hand side there because the tag is going to go the right. And we all have our own natural curls to how our ribbon's going to go. So I did mine like that just because I know how my ties end up. And that ribbon is so easy to work with too. It's very, very pliable. So now I'm fixing the ears of my bow to get them even, get them fluffed out a little bit, tighten it up. The left is larger than the right. I need to fix that. And so I'm making the right as large as the left. And now I'm just going to trim off the ends. And we are getting into the home stretch here a little bit. And I'm cutting them at an angle. And there we go. So now I'm going to grab a hole punch and then punch it at the very top there, kind of by that flag like you can see. And then I punch that out. You can also use our little trio punch that we have. And I'm taking that twine, making sure that everything's evened up, and I'm going to sneak one in through the bottom of that metallic mesh ribbon there, and then go ahead and tie it up. And I'm going to tie it into a knot and then trim the ends off that, but I want to keep the ends of the knot like tucked underneath the knot of our bow there, just for that, pretty factor and everything. And as you saw at the beginning of the video there, the stamp set, there's a lot of Christmas in here as well. You can also use our Celebration Tidings stamp set with this. The images in there are to scale to put on top of the fireplace as well. So again, everything matches with Stampin' Up. That product coordination, that color coordination, it just all goes. So I hope that you enjoyed today's project, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Please leave a comment and visit me over at cindybdesigns.com. And that is what we are looking like. On Tuesday, I have Stampin' Up! Challenges coming up for you. On Thursday, I will have another Fireside Trimmings card. And I'm really trying to work ahead here because I have company flying in from California on the 19th. And that is how easy it is to slip that sleeve off and on. So thank you again so much for joining me today. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next week.